Monday Night Lights, Monday Night Lights, Monday Night Lights. Let's talk about what's been going on at Viking Ice Arena. You've never seen a league so exciting and tough and fast. It simply must be discussed on an equally exciting and tough podcast. What's it called? Monday Night Lights. Yeah. Monday Night Lights. Monday Night Lights. What's been going down on the ice? Who are the leaders? Who are the failures? The Ducks, the Tigers, the Nordiques, the Whalers, the Seals, the Americans, the North Stars. Who's gonna stall? Who will go far and earn the keg? Who's gonna earn the keg? We'll find out in time. Give us a holler on the whoop line.
The Monday Night Lights podcast is back. Brian Piercy here with Andrew Hetes, Jeremy Drager, and Joe Brennan. How you guys doing today?
Who goes first here?
You get to go first.
Ooh, got the good chair, right? I'm doing pretty good.
Thank you for joining us.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Mr. Drager, as always, and Hetes, you're back after your let's call it bender.
Yeah, we'll call it a bender. That's fair. I've laid off the liquor and the beer here for the foreseeable podcast future. Just got the quality H2O in the non-knowledging bottle. Obviously, you've all seen this. This is a quality Yeti. We don't have them yet. Repping as ads. Maybe Pandy and Troy can get on that, but so that's what we're rocking today. We're rocking a little H2O, not. What do you have over there? Love everybody or something?
I'm drinking Everybody Love Everybody in honor of my co-GM, Jeremy Cohn.
Now, Tendy Talk, one of we'll call it infamous podcast. Did you go back and listen to it? How much of it do you remember of it?
Honestly, I went back and listened to maybe like 5 minutes, 10 minutes of it. It was like spurts. I listened like 30 seconds here in the beginning. I'm like, okay, and then I time lapsed it like another like 10 minutes forward. I'm like, okay, and then okay, and then oh god, I don't remember this. What happened? so
you couldn't get good through it either.
I want to say it was that it was just cringy because I don't really go back myself honestly and listen to a full podcast I've been in before. I generally would like hit hotspots or highlights maybe if I want to like, oh, do I remember talking about this? Did I stumble over my words like a 4-year-old with a one of those little like what do you have the crutch walker things? I don't know what you know what they're talking about. That has like a boot.
It's called a crutch.
A crutch,
Yeah.
but it's like it has like the knee thing and then it wheels you along. Anyways, I'm getting too into it. No, it's like a brace for your knee, and you can put it.
Roll forward. This doesn't matter.
That's why I am. Exactly, it doesn't matter. So point being, I try not to listen to it.
Practice as a zoom cart.
Ooh, I like that. Zoom
That's what you're trying to think of.
So as always, you can give us a call on the Whoop line, 714-715-WHOOP. Email the show at podcast@mnlhl.com. Follow, subscribe to us on Twitch. I'm sure we have a lot of people who their monthly Amazon, Twitch, Prime, whatever it is, sub is ran out, so you're eligible to go back and sub again. We always appreciate that. Help out the league. Review, rate the podcast. If you're interested in coming on, let us know. I know there was some talk about the Christmas Eve brunch podcast. I haven't heard anything from a Proctor, a Mackey, anybody else. So as of right now, it's not going on, but possibly talked into it as well.
That's an explicit call out to both Paulie and to Chuck. Get out there, let Piercy know. Let him know that he'll have some support when all the fans want to listen.
I'll make some pancakes, some eggs, some sausage. You bring some champagne and some orange juice, mimosas, brunch. We'll see how it goes. But
I think you should maybe just get takeout. I'm not sure that I trust anything cooked in that kitchen.
We saw the fridge.
Yeah, we saw it. That
it was full
cold
of
brew going on in there, just a room temperature.
room temperature cold brew.
that was filtered.
That's oxymoron.
That's being filtered today. Come on, give me a break. My kitchen is fine. I clean it. I have a bunch of food in the fridge cooked and ready to go for my meals. We've all heard that. Nobody wants to hear about that again. So let's go on to news, rumors. First thing is we actually have Carson Strong shirts available at shopmnlhl.com. Why don't you give us a little rundown of that, Drager?
Yeah, sure. So I think it was mentioned last week on the podcast, Troy's son, Carson, has run into a couple of surprise health issues, and he's actually been taking it like a champ and, kicking ass throughout the whole process. I don't know if anybody else saw, but it looks like he got a signed auto jersey, a signed auto Michigan jersey. I think it was Coach Langfeld who actually came out and dropped it off for him, which I thought was really, really cool. But as a way to kind of just like show support, spread awareness, stuff like that, we put together some shirts that, rep the Carson Strong concept along with number 2, holding it to him. So we're jump on to shop.mnlhl.com. It should be available right at the top, the link to try and click into it and get your shirt there.
Yeah, good cause. Should we look at buying maybe Troy a Michigan hockey T-shirt, Michigan hockey dad shirt?
I think he'd really, really enjoy it.
Right. He seems pretty in the go blue spirit as of late. So if there's ever a time for this, I think the time is now.
If there's any season to jump ship from one state team to the other, go from one in-state team to the other, now's the time to do it.
I mean, according to art, like in art classes, you mix maize and blue together, you get green. So I mean,
it all works.
Hey, nobody's saying he's turning his back on state. He can just find love in his heart for another team, possibly. Mm-hmm. But next thing on the week is this week, as far as I know, Bender OT is over. So I'm seeing a shaking of the head. Has a rule change that we're not aware of?
No rule changes. It was a rule change last time that brought Bender OT to a little bit of an extension, but it sounds like everyone wants to, let it, go back to normal OT and stuff like that. I forget who said it. Somebody said it maybe a couple weeks ago on the podcast. I'm a huge fan of all-time Bender OT. Regular season, playoffs, I don't give a shit. It's some of the best ice that we ever see, the best playing that we ever see. It's a good old time. So I'm for it personally, but there's no plans to extend it throughout the rest of the season or even remotely close to the playoffs. So we'll probably talk about what that might look like come season 5 if we want to revisit and say, hey, let's change and talk about how Bender OT works. But
yeah, with it being the last week, we actually, when we'll talk about it a little bit later, we actually got to take advantage of Bender over OT at least one more time. Joey, as a fellow Bender, what were your feelings on Bender OT?
Yeah, I was a big fan of Bender OT. I mean, how often do we really get to go out there and be the fucking hero, right? It's always like those big guys, and they can score 20 goals a season, and, every now and again, Joe Brenner wants a little bit,
Exactly. I get Joey B out there, have him rip and dip, because you're not going to get a chance on the shootout when you're throwing Pete out there, you're throwing Andy Fem or Judge, etc.
Or if Peso's on your team, Peso will make sure the ref knows the rule is IIHL style. The second that you go through 3 people, we get to just throw them out there TJ Oshie style. Like we had a
I didn't even know that.
We had a K-Felix game where it was, Peso went, Shawnee went, and then Fem went, and then Peso was just like, penny, me. And I was like, are you sure we can do that? And so he literally went out there. The team complained. He talked about it with the refs and was like, look it up, boys. Go look it up. And they just let him go. And so he just kept on rolling. We ended up rolling through the same 3 guys over and over in a 9-shot shootout or something crazy.
And did Peso score? Because, we all know he's having a little bit of trouble in that department lately, eh?
No. I think it was my boy Fem scored in the end. I can't remember.
That sounds about right. Now, Hetes, as a goalie going against Benders, do you have your guard up more? Are you worried if someone scores on you, you're going to hear it more? Is it kind of just a breeze in the park right there? How do you feel about these things?
I think you just covered the range of emotions I feel in my head. I have 5 thoughts in my head, and those are all the ones you just came out there in the mic.
Dr. Piercy.
I don't want to, I don't want to let a Bender score on me because it's like, oh God, am I going to hear the end of it? Sam Mackey just put one behind me off the post. Big oof. But then at the same time, they're Benders, right? So, if my team's got the puck, I'm sitting back there clapping the stick, little Mighty Duck style, pass me the puck, I'm open, I'm the 4th man back there, we're going to run an ISO, it's a little 3-on-3 NBA street out here, let's go, boys. And then I never get the puck because the Benders, they just go forward.
I just want to give a big warning to all the goalies out there when Bender OT comes back. 1, 2, Sammy's coming for you. He's going to he's going to become a fucking hero. And that goalie will probably never show up again. Hopefully it's a goalie we don't like, not a goalie we do like.
Sammy's had some chances lately. If he scores overall, that goalie's probably going to hear some shit. Bender OT, regular, anytime, throw him in the shootout. Any goal's a goal for Sammy, and that goalie's going to hear it.
Imagine the plan, Selly. He's got one. Whatever it is, he'll fucking fly down the ice and do it while his team chases to catch up to him to celebrate with him.
I got odds on that he's gonna do the old curling one where he throws the glove and sweeps along.
And then falls down halfway through. You see how
I think it's going to be more like cat paws or something, like going out like
Meow.
meow.
Yeah, it
meow.
would probably have something to do with cats if it was those two.
Just brings a live kitten on the ice.
Takes off his helmet, pulls one out.
So speaking of Sam, we actually got a word from our sponsor as well. So let's hear from him real quick.
Hi, I'm Billy Baloney. First-time listener, long-time caller. I'm here to talk to you about ketamine. That's ketamine. It's not the smell that comes from their litter boxes. It's a brand new product from Allied General Dynamics. Are you tired of your cat smelling your socks? Are you tired of your cats coughing up hairballs? Are you tired because your cats run around at night? Well, if you are, get ready to put on them cat pajamas because you are sleeping through the night. Don't be worried about hearing the cats meow tonight because the sleep you get will feel like you have 9 more lives. And there probably isn't even any side effects. To get your first hit free, dial 1-800-CAT-MEOW. That's 1-800-CAT-MEOW, promo code WHOOP. Ketamine. Let sleeping cats lie.
Wow, we are getting big as a brand when we're having another company come and sponsor us, I guess.
So is this ketamine FDA approved, or we waiting on that, or
Fucking
what?
no, it's
Yeah,
not.
like General Dynamics Allied, like that's a huge corporation.
Yeah.
That's huge. I mean, those guys are
Probably no
making
side
defense
effects.
contracting companies, and they're out here making, cat-based like NyQuil drugs for you to go to sleep. That's genius.
Really, when it comes down to it, we don't care about FDA approval as long as the check cashes. It's good for the league, right?
I just need Billy Baloney to do an infomercial about MNL in general. Just be like, do you like low-level hockey? And I'm like, I do. That's me.
Do you like taking yourself too serious? I do.
Do you like coming home to your parents and then be really disappointed that you don't shut up about hockey? Yeah, that's me.
Same probably goes for wives as well.
Yes.
But yeah, thank you for the call. The Billy Baloney's definitely my favorite caller, followed by Grandma Gio as well. I don't know; those two are up on a pedestal.
Billy's number one.
Just remember that promo code WHOOP, guys.
Promo code WHOOP.
Promo code Whoop.
Try doing promo code WHOOP in the shop.mnlhl.com when you buy your Carson Strong shirts. Maybe 10% chance it works. Let me know what happens.
Maybe not. It's kind of like every once in a while there'd be those. I forget what Whoop would be like. No bell, and every once in a while the Slack bot would just say something, and you'd be like,
No.
No. Next thing on the agenda is the trade deadline's coming up next Monday at 4 p.m., right before the final puck drop. So
Proctor says it adds $10 on your order. it's a Whoop service fee.
Promo code WHOOP gives you $10 surcharge.
but yeah,
Straight to
anyways,
gambling.
trade deadline next Monday, 4 p.m. Hetes, is someone who's recently been traded. I'm assuming you're not going anywhere anytime soon, but what are your thoughts on this?
Anytime someone says Monday trade deadline, I always think of like the NHL, NFL. They play like the Chris Berman, and they get like everyone's hyping up like who's gonna be traded, and it was like explosions, graphics, and they got Skip Bayless and who's the other guys is like everyone's just yelling things. Nothing ever makes sense, and then at the end of the day, no one gets traded. So I feel we have like you said, we have a week till the next trade deadline. I'm excited for it. I don't know if some of the teams have already made trades are going to be involved in trades because there's only a certain amount of players you can trade before you start messing with your team chemistry and get a brand new team entirely. But that being said, I'm pretty excited for it. I think this GM to my right here may have a possibility of maybe more trades, maybe not. I know there's some other guys in the league, heard some rumblings that may be trying to trade some people, but overall, I think I don't know. We're gonna have to wait. It's a little wait and see game, but I don't know if there's going to be another trade.
Yeah, I had a conversation with somebody last night who, no names, but they explicitly said like trade for me. They asked for it, and not like their team's not in a bad spot. They just wanted to they're like trade for me. I personally, I don't think we're in a situation where we're going to make another move unless we're able to ship this guy out of town or something like that. But
Totally not injured, guys. Perfect shape.
I don't think we're going to make any type of move like that, and I don't think there's going to be a move. I doubt it personally that there's going to be another move that happens before the deadline. I think the fun that happened was the fun that happened with the North Stars back-to-back trades, personally.
But then again, I'm sure you're always open to listening to offers, and if you can improve your team, you're going to pull the trigger.
Every GM is, and we're going to have the trusted voice. We're going to have Zeke Rollins. We're going to have Penny Schefter all out in force on Monday, not doing an ounce of work for their respective companies. Keeping their blackberries a lit. Following all the buzz that doesn't happen.
Scroll trackball going.
If I could throw a little inkling out there, I mean, if we kind of look at it from from an unbiased perspective, we could look at it from like a meta kind of view. The top two teams, the Seals and the Americans, are currently in the standings. Probably aren't going to trade anybody, right? Especially the Seals. You have something that works. You don't change what doesn't work. You don't fix what isn't broken. So, and then if the North Stars and the Deeks are quote unquote kind of proverbially done trading, as they've already traded most of their roster around and swapped some pieces, and the Tigers to a degree, that kind of leaves you with three teams left in the league. You have the Ducks, you have the Whalers, and then who am I saying? Americans. Yeah. So I mean, in the Americans, like I said earlier, they're kind of towards the top where they probably don't want to change their team chemistry. So there's really only two teams that probably could make a move.
Yeah, it's having Serta, with the equity stuff, looking to go in, company looking for that value. I could see him pulling the trigger at any time, but again, I'm guessing he's a hard bargainer, looking for the best deal he possibly can. I know from my aspect, it'll be nice just to actually get the trade deadline over, so you know what you're doing. You can concentrate on what's going on. Especially, I was the first person on our team that brought beer for the second time. If I got traded before the deadline, all of a sudden you're back on that beer rotation again. That wouldn't be a fun thing to do.
Be first.
That's how you make an enemy.
Yeah.
That's why Sip still doesn't talk to me to this day. I was on beer and you traded me? I'm like, man, shit happens.
Piercy, here's my question to you. What happens if a GM trades himself? Has that ever happened before in our league?
I don't believe so. I know I've heard Turtles tried to trade himself many of times. Busta wouldn't let that happen. I don't know if there's any rules as far as in the Ivory Tower that both GMs have to be aligned on a trade going down. If you essentially have a top GM over the other, that has priority to say trades are being done. Drager, you can kind of answer those side of things.
Yeah, I think the best way to view GM-ship in that particular scenario is it's basically a no trade clause. Let's use the example of like me and Cone. If Cone thinks that like, hey, we don't have the right thing to make our team work right now, he's like, but I think if we traded and swapped and we got Hetes and made some other trades elsewhere, like it would work. But he's like, you'd have to trade me, and like if he wanted to say,
what would
yeah,
happen
I
if
would.
he was like, I'm trading Fem for, I don't know, name a player, Pete, to get Pete back or whatever, and you're like, no, we're not doing it. And he's like, I've already agreed to it. Does it have to be an agreement from both GMs? Is there rules on that?
That's what I was going to get to. Is like he needs to basically waive his GM-ship, so to speak, and like basically step down from that role. So that's him kind of agreeing to it, and then it's the other GM who kind of says like, all right, now that, in this case, in this example, like Cone decided to say, hey, I'm good, and then I can be the GM who does the shipping, and then we can kind of make it work from there. So it kind of has to be like both parties have to agree to it.
Do you get to appoint a interim GM, interim co-GM?
It wouldn't be far off from what the Americans did season 2 when Manny was like, yeah, work's really busy right now, I got to step down, and then Proctor kind of jumped into his place.
As I say, I actually think that would be interesting. Is do they have to step down from their GM-ship, or essentially do they permanently have to? Can they come back next year? That's one of those tough things. Obviously, Manny did. It was able to work out with him in Antioch type of thing. But I think like with you, if that map thing would have happened, it would have been understandable. You came back. But if, I don't know, someone like Antioch traded himself, and then it's like, I'm coming back to the American next year, that'd be a little harder to be like,
Basically what Manny did when he decided to say, hey, I'm going to step down. He's like, no, I have full intent to come back. And, Brawny and Proctor. Brawny was like a one and done. Proctor was a, hey, I was just kind of doing this in the interim type of thing. So it still kind of worked out all the same. It's especially when it's like hey, there's a vacant spot on the team that you used to GM and you have interest in coming back. Like I still think it makes sense, but that's very much like a case by case basis. Just because how often do we have that happen?
yeah,
Not very often. And on top of that, too, I mean, what happens if you get an interim GM that's not, a part of the league? Like Mike Babcock's available. You think we could bring him into the league to be an interim GM for a team?
Definitely. I think he's having trouble finding a job right now.
So, Hetes, have you been hearing rumors about a GM trying to trade themselves?
I heard one about a week ago. Since then, I want to say, what was it, Tuesday? It's been kind of quiet. I hadn't heard anything else since then. But I know there was an offer that was offered on the table between two teams. I know one of the teams is in a light colored jersey this year. So I'll leave you to kind of guess. That only leaves like 3 teams to choose from right there. So. You can kind of take that and run with it, which you will. But I don't want to give up too more about that because I'm not sure if it's still on the table or not. I haven't talked to the GM I spoke to prior to about that. So
I knew Skillman wanted out of the Tigers.
Oh, man, you saw that live looking of Skillman in his office.
Oh, yeah. So
Tony the Tiger doing the whoop shuffle.
next thing on the agenda is going to be the pick'em standings real quick. We still have Dylan in the lead with 33 points, followed by Troy, Hetes, and Ty, all with 27.5 points. So Dylan's got a nice little cushion there. Dave P has fallen out of second where he's kind of been hovering all year. So, he's trying to make up points on Dylan. I think he's made a couple probably not smart picks, just trying to make it up. But I think that's what happens when you're desperate to make up spots.
yeah, when you start picking yourself and you're taking L's, it's tough. It's tough.
Trust me, I know.
So since we still have a lot to go with the All-Star game result and everything, let's go on to the actual week. Our first game of the week was the Mighty Ducks 0 versus the Tigers 3. Drager, as you weren't actually playing and having to change, you probably saw a lot of this game. Why don't you give us your quick rundown of this game?
Yeah, so...
Well, actually, Hetes played in the game. What am I talking about? I forgot about the trade. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Drager. You got the lead on this, and I want to hear your opinion from the outside, and I'll throw a little spice in there, and we'll go from there.
So my viewpoint of this game, it was me and Lil Boner Dave P were talking, watching the game during warm-ups, and... we just he comes up to me, he's like, who'd you pick? And I go, I picked the Tigers. He goes, yeah, me too. But I was thinking, maybe the Ducks could. And I was just like, good work. I was basically just like, hey, take a look at both goalies right now. We looked over at Ryan Z, and it just didn't feel like Ryan Z felt really into it too much. And then we looked over at Hetes, and Hetes is like, people are taking shots, and they're just like low, and he's just like completely ignoring them. And then they come over by his glove, and he's just like trying to actually make plays. It's like Hetes is getting to the point where he's like selective, like, I'm trying to warm up this right now. And like, I was just like, there's such like a difference in like the focus, everything right now. He's like, maybe you're onto something.
Charles is shooting right now. I'm going to ignore that shot. Skillman shooting. I'm going to try to save that one.
I disagree. Charles should have got a nice shot in warm-ups yesterday, glove side. I had a windmill that bad boy.
Well, that's the thing. Sharpshooter Charles strolls up to the dot, along with Sammy, who was subbing for the Ducks, strolling up to the dock for a little Mackey on Mackey action. Usually we see him jawing at the wings, and that's always fun.
Mm-hmm.
But this time it was brother on brother right at the front. Sammy Mackey, you ever win a face-off so clean you don't have to wipe afterwards?
And to start the game, too.
He just starts the game, wins it. It goes past, I don't know who his defenseman was back there. It goes past, right past Oliveri. And then in comes Slocum, just pick it up and just boom. First 20 seconds in on Ryan Z. And like Dave P just like turns and looks at me like, ah. I'm like, yeah, man. It's fucking real. And he's just like, you're like a fucking monster. I'm like, yeah, I know. I guess that pretty good. I guess like the number 2 or 3 ranked team was going to beat the last place team. I'm so shocked. But I feel like that was a lot of the momentum of the night. And I think, I don't know how deep we're going to go into the power rankings, but I think Troy kind of hit it on the head where I felt even without the Matt Taylors of the world, I think Slocum kind of picked up a lot of the slack. I think that line 2, which should have everything against it of Skillman surrounding himself with Crunk and Ty, like on paper, you're like, I don't know how this could work. And it fucking got 2 of the goals last night. So, that's the key difference.
Well, the question is with line 2 is who is their defensive pairing there? Because they have some strong defensemen, and if you can throw Skillman there with like a Matt Lepoudre, all of a sudden it's like that can be strong back there on D. And Lepoudre, he puts a lot of offense in there as well. Shot comes back to him. He has a nice slap shot. He knows what to do with the puck. So you look at that whole line as a whole, and it's not as bad as you say, oh, we got these 2 wings and a center that's pretty good. It's like, no, look at it as a whole and see what you have.
And that's no discredit to the defenseman, too, because of the fact that I think it was probably like 5 minutes in, and me and Vape looked at each other. It's like, I don't think Hetes has taken a shot yet. And he's just sitting there just like, boom, and we're like, I think that was the first one. So the defense was doing a really good job of like squishing out any opportunities. If a shot eventually did get on net, they'd get to the puck, they'd get it first and start the breakout. So it was a lot of really strong control. So I think there was a couple of really good opportunities. There was a really good one by Sam and a really good one by Busta that stand out to me, that the Ducks were able to kind of get in and be able to take opportunities to try and score. But it's when you get that first goal against in the first 5 seconds. I like to call it the Shawnee goal. If you've played against the Seals, Shawnee's favorite thing is like poke a puck up, pick it up, go and just rocket it past you to start off the game like that. It's the most demoralizing thing. It's hard to kind of come back from.
Hetes is playing net. What did you see last night?
So from my standpoint, going into this game, especially for the Ducks, it was one of those big games where they had to win, right? There's a lot of games you have to win if you're the last couple place teams fighting for a playoff spot. But by the same token, us Tigers were trying to reach for the stars, trying to get first, second seeds, so we don't have to play in the first round of the playoffs. But that all being said, so both teams had something, some skin to play for. But when you go out to a game and you put a stamp on it 10 seconds into a game by getting a breakaway goal, and your Bender, your Sam wins a face-off clean, and your left wing and your left defenseman both just look at each other and do the old what is happening? Whoa. Yeah, and the puck just goes between them and Slocum takes off. That set the entire tone for the entire game. Oh. After that, I felt like Pandy kind of touched on a little bit. Most of the loose pucks or any kind of rebound I put out to a corner or if there's a loose puck to a corner and deep inside the Duck zone, a lot of times Tigers were there first to the puck. The first line between Pete and Slocum may have not generated offense after that first goal, but by that same token, they shut down the Sugar line. I guess Sugar, Busta, and Bauer. Another aspect of the Ducks was that they got the matchup they wanted on line too. But when you're relying on guys like Bauer, you're relying on guys like Sam Mackey, you're relying on guys like Busta to try to generate offense by just throwing pucks on net from non-dangerous areas, it can work sometimes, to get shots on net and crash. But there's too much difference in speed on their lines. They had Busta coming in late to the zone or Bauer coming in, and Sugar would be the first person there, and he had to hold the puck in the corner for 10 seconds waiting for help, and then he would get swarmed by two players. Or Ben would get the puck at the blue line, and I remember one particular play in the power play they had, he had the puck at the blue line and waited 10 seconds, and Pete just stood in front of him with his shin pads okay, shoot, do something. And he just stood there and killed 10 seconds, 15 seconds of his own power play before he rotated the puck around and got another shot. So I think the Ducks need I don't know if it's necessarily a team motivation sort of thing or a lineup sort of thing they need to shake up, but I think we've been preaching this all season long. They can't be selective with their shots, but by the same token, they can't also just hold on to the puck and rely on puck possession and just working a puck around on a bad line or a good line and being too cute with it. Sometimes it's better to get to a nice area to shoot first, as opposed to taking a puck and just throwing it to a corner for someone to go get, or throwing it on net from a bad spot and kind of praying. It's a little too Hail Mary for me. Now,
Joey, that first goal that was 10 seconds in, what does that do to your confidence as a defenseman at the beginning of the game, knowing you let up a play like that? I know for me, it just totally wrecks my confidence the whole game.
Yeah, I got a funny thing with defensiveness, and it's as soon as I get scored on, all of a sudden I try a lot harder. I don't know what it is. It's you got to punch me in the face before I can actually play a game. I don't know why I'm like that, but it's you start the game, it goes slow. I always end up playing a way worse game than if somebody just comes in and just walks me, then I end up playing a lot better for some reason. But I know that's not the norm.
So what you're saying is the Deeks need to let up that early goal, and then you guys will roll the rest of the time.
I still prefer they don't. I'd still rather keep that puck out of the net. But maybe just slap me around a little bit first.
Well,
the blood moving.
I'm calling out Babcock fucking now, boys.
Nordiques bathroom. Panty dropper's gonna be stuck on the Inquisition of Monday Night Lights as they investigate whether he's beating Brennan with a mop in the back of the bathroom, just pregame. Are you ready to play, Brennan?
Maybe you guys should consider trading for the general.
Oh gosh, that's its own level of news potentially. According to, we'll get to it when we talk about the SEAL stuff. But surprised to hear Brennan say he likes to play angry. I would have never have thought that.
Who would have guessed it? Next game on the agenda was the Americans versus the Whalers. Americans pulled it out in overtime, 3-2 being in this game. The Whalers got up early in the first period, 2-0. Americans came back, tied it up. They got, I think it was the second goal was off. I had a slashing penalty. Not Not gonna lie, wasn't too happy about that one.
Do the fans want to hear the quote last night that Piercy told us inside the announcing box?
There could
I
be
think they
there,
do,
there
yeah.
could be children listening to this.
Is that a yes?
That's we know. We've heard worse stuff on the podcast.
Okay, so anyways, Piercy comes he comes into the glass. First he goes to the wrong penalty box, then he goes to the right penalty box. I open the door for him, like, you're right there, buddy. He's like, if so and so, I don't remember who it was, could hold on to their stick harder than I hold on my dick when I masturbate, like I wouldn't get a penalty. And everyone just stops, and Charles looks at me and goes, did Piercy just make like a masturbation comment? Like, can we get this on camera? And so I pull up my phone. I'm like, can we do this one more time for the podcast so we can remember this exactly tomorrow? Ashley was just like, she just cringed. She did like the whole like face and like hand palm thing and turned to her right.
That's the most critical thing. Piercy said this in front of a lady.
I don't.
Disrespectful.
Well, you know what? I don't think Piercy was like in like the right mind. I mean, he just took a penalty. He was a little salty that he slashed somebody and the stick came out of his hands. But that's a strange way to, I guess, make a simile to.
It was Sips. I feel like I barely touched his stick. I know the motion I was coming down on. I can see why the refs actually called it. Sips, for the record, did claim that he was holding it with one hand and barely had a grip on it. So he didn't actually argue it was hard or not. But the motion I came down with, I can see why the refs called it. I would say in this game, I thought the refs were pretty inconsistent in their calls. I thought there was quite a few motions of slashes where there was one on the other side I thought got called. I don't know if it was a makeup call or what, but I think the refs, for me, I want them to be consistent. Either call something like that or not call it. And as long as you're doing that, as much as we don't like it, I think it's fair, but be consistent throughout the whole game and keep calling those
Just need
penalties.
a little salt shaker emoji right now.
Yeah, we know, right?
You
Little
know?
salt.
Oh, I was
Salt Bay.
I was definitely salty. I can admit
Maybe
it. I
we'll
was
go a
not
little
happy about
eggplant
that.
sweat drops for the masturbation drop earlier.
Right?
I mean, the setup's not for nothing here, right?
Eggplant, fist, sweat drops. The whole 9 yards.
Anyway, so this game ended in our last Bender overtime of the year. Edge scored a goal to end it. Obviously not fun for us, but we did get a point. The Americans continue to play good hockey as well, which leads us to our last game of the night would be the Golden Seals versus the Nordiques. A 3-1 win by the Golden Seals. Let's go over to Mr. Joey Brennan for your view of this game.
Yeah, I mean, this was my second game as a winger and possibly my last. I mean, we'll see. I got Panty Dropper sitting right beside me, so I won't speculate, but I thought the Deeks played an okay game. Obviously the Seals beat us 3-1. The score is what it is. It tells us the story. But, they came out strong in the first period and whooped us pretty good. But then in the second period, I thought we were kind of trading chances. And then we started the third period. They got 2 quick goals. And then that was kind of game over, I thought if we had come into the third and maybe got a goal, we could have made a game of it. But I mean, they definitely played well. They're definitely deserving of being the top of the league. They're a good team. I mean, I'd put them and the Tigers kind of almost on a tier of their own right now. But I thought the Deeks played well. I think the trade's working for us. I think time will tell, but I think we're gonna have a couple good performances coming up.
I was going to say, you did have the new trade. You got Judge and Cunningham out there. How did they gel with the team? What was the setup there? And do you feel like the trade went well so far? I know it's early, but what was your thoughts on it?
I mean, like, it's a totally different locker room dynamic with those two. Cunningham just comes in, he's all business, doesn't like really say much, comes in, gets changed, gets on the ice, does business, goes home. He's a real,
The one piece suit, all zipped up. Bzzz.
yeah, he's a real meat and potatoes kind of guy, And then you got Judge, he's a bit of a character, but I think he's an overall positive attitude kind of a guy. I like the way he plays hockey too. He's got a little bit of that grit to him. So yeah, I mean, I think it's going to work out for the Deeks.
My favorite point of the night was when I go into the locker room and see Cunningham and I start kind of like chatting with him a bit. I'm like, oh, hey, how's it going? He's just like, good. He's like, do you have a jersey for me? I'm like, no, like my car's in the shop right now. And the jerseys are in the trunk, so I don't have it. He's like, okay, good. I brought this. And he takes out his jersey from season 1. I'm like, oh, you have that. I was like, Peso wore that all that season after we traded you. So I was like, at least you have that. He's like, yeah, cool. Also, I have this jersey. And he pulls out our sub jersey from that season. He was like, who was 97? I was like, that was for subs. How did you get that? And he's just like, oh. And I'm just like, did you steal it? He goes, no, it just kind of ended up here. And I was just like, how did, like, because you ended the season on the Seals. I can understand Peso giving you like the jersey with your name on the back, but I have no idea how he got the sub jersey. So, he
I'm
came in. It was like a
Cunningham's bag of endless holding.
yeah. Well, he came in. It was just like he didn't miss a beat. He's just like, oh, I got my jersey. I want to wear this one. It has 88 on it. Throws it on and goes back out. Like he didn't skip a beat. He's like, I'm like, oh hey, glad to have you on the team. He's like, back on the team. I'm like, oh, Darren, I like that.
Ooh, I feel like there's some half truths from Darren there. How could he not know he didn't have the sub jersey for all that time? Sounded like he was holding it hostage because he was a little bitter about the trade from, 2 years ago?
Dude, that basically tells me that if I want to get back on Sip's good side, I got to trade back for Sips, and then I get to give him a fucking Bud Light Michelada in return for the one that he forced me to drink after I traded him. So
everything
will be right in the universe.
On his good side, probably don't trade for him this year.
And just don't go to 11 guys, then he'll try to throw out the whole Reaper thing again, and that wasn't good.
And apparently, Sip says he's got a stack of Nordiques jerseys as well. So let's move on real quick to the power rankings from Mr. Troy Otto, the OFP. Power rankings has the Seals 1, Tigers 2, Americans 3, followed by the North Stars, Whalers, Nordiques, and Ducks. I feel like these are probably pretty clear cut. Anybody have disagreements or thoughts on them? If not, we can just kind of move along.
I don't really have anything to disagree on. I did want to bring up something that we kind of breezed by really quick in the Whalers-Americans game. Even though the Americans won 3-2 in OT, they actually were outshot 24-20. That's not a lot. It's only 4 shots. But while the Whalers, I felt, got more scoring opportunities between like the hash marks, I felt like the Americans kind of capitalized on the chances they had a little bit better. Don't get me wrong, Cam made 2 or 3 really nice saves in the third period, just as J-Flo did too. But I mean, that game kind of indicated better than the first time they played around. In the first leg, between the Whalers and the Americans, it was a bloodbath. The Whalers had outshot the Americans something. I know the shots because I actually keep track, and those are only 2 games I've been able to PA so far. And they outshot them like 38 to like 21. It's like the Whalers, you guys. I mean, you outshot them almost 2-1 the first time, and you guys lost 3-0. So I thought this time around the shots were more even. I thought it was a little bit better play from the Americans. But overall, as like a game, I felt you guys kind of controlled a little bit. So I don't mind seeing you guys where you are. Maybe the North Stars could drop a position or so, like you kind of voiced those original rankings you posted last night. So I like his rankings now.
It was a tight game. I think I came up with a couple stat that I think is pretty good when we get to the standings on that side of things to kind of show who's hot and who's not. Speaking of which, like we said, this is the end of kind of our second round of play. We have 3 rounds, so now everybody has played these 12 games total, so it gives us a lot more of a perspective of how the season's going. So let's move on to the standings real quick. We have the Golden Seals in first place. They're up by 5 points with 27 points, followed by the Americans with 22. We have the Tigers, 21, North Stars 17, Whalers 17, 13 for the Deeks. We have 9 points for the Mighty Ducks. Just to let you know, if you're listening to this, you can actually go to youtube.mnlhl.com, watch the video. We do have all these stats going through a cycle, so if you want to see what these standings actually look like, feel free to go there. If you're there, subscribe as well. We've had a couple recent subscribers as well. So, go there, check out some of these videos.
Smooth ad read.
I try. So, obviously, I think we're looking at the big things is right now, I'd say the Golden Seals, they're kind of in a power position for that first bye, being up 5 points with 6 games left. So I think the real question is we have the Americans, we have the Tigers, probably the leaders for that second bye. 1 point difference between the two. And then obviously the biggest news overall would be who's missing the playoffs. We have the Ducks with 9, and we have the Nordiques with 13. So we're going to go over to Mr. Joey Brennan real quick. Let's talk about the Americans and the Tigers. What do you think with that matchup there?
I really think the Tigers probably, in reality, own that matchup. I mean, the Americans have shown like real hot spurts, but I gotta feel like the Tigers are a better team than the Americans. But I mean, you're still looking at like a tier kind of their own, where you got like Seals are kind of tier 1, then Americans, Tigers are 2, and then there's kind of like the rest of the league. Maybe you split Nordiques and Ducks into their own kind of tier at the bottom. But I mean, they're only 4 points out of the North Stars Whalers. So I mean, the American Tigers one, though, I definitely feel like the Tigers own that matchup. But I don't even know what the season splits are. But
I think the American Tigers are 1-1. But when Matt Taylor came and played the last matchup, I want to say the Tigers won it barely, was it 5-0 or 5-1?
5-2, 5-1, 5-2.
What, the Tigers Americans?
Yeah, it was a
5-1,
dominant. It was a
baby.
dominant performance by the Tigers there.
Yeah, he was, quiet / non-existent for the first part of the year, and then as soon as he's really come on the scene, the Tigers have just been on fire.
He's been non-existent because he hasn't been in the ring.
Well, that's what I'm
his
saying.
attendance. Yeah, I'm just saying, it's not like, I just want to make that clear. It's not about his skill level or how he's been playing. It's just he hasn't been available to show up for all the games yet. Now that he's showing up, it's a noticeable difference. And even when he's not, like we kind of talked about earlier, other players are able to pick up the slack.
And that's realistically going to be a key for the Tigers. Matt Taylor is going to really need to show up for these playoffs. If not, anything can happen there. Looking at the other side, like we were talking about, is we have the Nordiques, 13 points. We have 9 points for the Ducks. Technically, we have 17 points for the Whalers and the North Stars. I'm going to go over to you, Hetes. Is there any way that the North Stars or the Whalers could get knocked down to that last place position?
Anything can happen in the last leg, but I feel if the Ducks and the Nordiques want to really, cement themselves in that fifth spot, that fourth spot, another trade would have to happen, or a real big lineup shakeup would have to happen. I know that the Ducks might be missing Ryan Z next week for business, so maybe they bring in another goalie, or maybe a couple weeks, maybe they make a trade before, move Ben or move Rubel, check, like I said, check up the lineup, do something drastic. Otherwise, the results kind of speak for themselves. There's already been 2 legs we played through. In the first couple legs, the Ducks didn't get that many points. The Ducks had 6 points in the first leg, and then the second leg around they had 7 points in the second leg. They had 6. So they're not scoring that many points. I did want to touch on something that Brennan brought up, because we had some advanced stats from my boy Ryan Allen.
Amazon Web Services coming in and analyzing our league.
Next-gen stats.
Yeah, it is. It's great. So what you say about the tiers is kind of true, because the Seals kind of are in their own tier. If you go on goals for, goals against, and a lot of times it's a stat that plus or minus in the goals differential can really kind of tell a team story if they're really just unlucky games, or if they lose in a lot of close 1-goal games. And so the Seals have 39 goals for, 19 goals against. That's a 205% above average on goals scored, right?
And they're actually leading with the most goals for and the least goals against. So
Correct.
they're leading both of those categories, which is huge.
They're in their own stratosphere. They're right. They're way above their peak curve. They're 205%. So then the next 3 teams are the Tigers, Americans, North Stars, and all those teams. The Tigers are 133%. Right, we're above average. We got 9 goals above. The Americans are 6 goals above, and then the North Stars are pretty much at 500. And then if you leave that and you go 20% below the North Stars, the next 3 teams are all 15% difference. So the Whalers are negative 15%. At 74%, and then the Ducks are 65%, and then the Nordiques are at 50%. So if you kind of look at the league from a goals differential standpoint, they almost reflect the actual rankings in the standings. The only difference is that Ducks Nordiques games are kind of swapped, because I think we brought it up outside on Slack earlier today that when the Deeks lose, they kind of lose their big game, they kind of lose big. But when they win their games, they're all tight, close games. So that might be the reason why the Ducks and Nordiques are kind of flip-flop there now in the standings.
Yeah, looking at those bottom matchups, I did a little bit of research on kind of the first loop versus the second loop. And if we're really focusing on those last couple of teams, so the Ducks in loop number 1, they had 6 points in the first loop, 3 points in the second loop.
That's what
to give them their 9 points. Well, the Nordiques, they had 9 and 4, so they had a big drop-off in that second half.
I was missing for most of that second half. I'd just like to note that, and that's probably why you're
I've
missing
been
all those
missing
points.
for most of it, too.
Yeah, there you go.
But part of my point is, even if you take the 6, which has been their first half, that would only bring them up to 15 points, which means the Deeks would only need 2 points. I don't know how the tiebreakers would work on that, but essentially they would need 3 points to clinch there. My prediction is if you get 16 points, you're going to make the playoffs. And I think I'm coming pretty close to that. We'll see how accurate it is above, below, but I'm not that far off. So as of right now, my prediction are, I hate to jinx myself, but I think the North Stars, I think the Whalers at 17 points, as long as they do something, they're going to be pretty safe. Because even if we're looking at it, in that second round, the top team was the Whalers with 14 points. The North Stars actually had the second best round with 11 points. And the Whalers had the third best with 10 points. Tigers and Americans had 9 points each as well. So if you kind of look at the teams, some reason it kind of feels like right now the Whalers are on a downslide because they've had some ties, a couple losses near the end, but they had the third best round. And the North Stars, even before that trade, because they've only played one game with the trade, they obviously were doing well with having 8 points ahead of that as well.
Yeah, I would definitely say that. My opinion, kind of speaking to the North Stars and the Whalers, the North Stars and the Whalers are looking to potentially miss the playoffs, or like for that to happen, they'd have to have a monumental slide akin to Ducks the first rotation, akin to Deeks the second rotation, and I think it might have to be worse than that because to have something like that happen, they would have to lose to both the
Ducks
Deeks
and
the Deeks.
The Ducks and the Deeks. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Both Deeks.
Both Deeks, both times we play them. It's a doubleheader. But they'd have to lose both of those, and they'd have to like just continually lose, and one of those teams at a minimum has to like fire off like crazy, which is not impossible, but not possible to the point where I think like one of those teams is going to lose both of those games. So I think for the most part they should sleep well knowing that they're going to be in the playoffs. The question is down to just those last two teams. So the Ducks or the Deeks going to be able to, who's going to win their matchup and who's going to win the games that they could and who's going to win the games that they should.
If you look at it from an actual point standpoint, though, too, if the Ducks were to win, well, if the Ducks have to, no matter what, win 3 games the second go around. If they want to make the playoffs, a minimum 3 games gets them up to 18 points, right? They arguably need points in 4 games, ideally 5. So, I mean, if you look at the schedule, I mean, that means they gotta. And if you say that they lose to the Seals, right? Because Seals are #1 team in the league. I mean, it means the rest of the games, the Americans, Tigers, North Stars, Whalers, and Deeks, like they have to beat the Deeks no matter what. They have to beat the Whalers no matter what. And the North Stars, they could get points against us, against the Tigers, and then like maybe points against the Americans. I mean, that's a big ask for the Ducks.
I mean, basically, they need to beat the Deeks, win one more game, and then go even with whatever the Deeks win. So I mean, it's not undoable, but I mean, I hope that the Deeks can pull that one out and keep that matchup. As long as we beat them, we're pretty much gold.
Yeah, and I think that on paper, that game's probably going to come down to just because of the fact that the Ducks are going to be, they're going to be on a bye, and so they're going to have a game to play still when the time comes. I think a big game is going to be. It might be decided on the actual Deeks vs. Ducks game.
Yeah, and interesting thing to note is I don't know how the tiebreakers essentially would work in the long term, but the max points the Mighty Ducks can have is 27 points if you say 3 times 6, plus their 9 points. The Golden Seals have 27 points as of today, so they've essentially clinched their playoff spot depending on tiebreakers already.
Not according to the official playoff status tracker, but the Seals should sleep good knowing that they're going to be in the playoffs. But anything can happen.
That's like when you get near the playoffs with the Red Wings, and you're like, well, if everybody else loses every game and they win every single game coming up to the playoffs, then they can still make it.
One fast I did want to touch on was I was keeping track of my own stats because I get chirped by some other goalies in the goaltending room for nonsensical things that you can't control.
I wonder why.
Anyways, I
Just
do
keeps
wonder
those
why.
stats, eh?
I do wonder why. So I gotta make sure that Paney's putting the goals against, right? Because sometimes he gives like Jay Flo or Cam too much credit and doesn't give me enough credit, or Ryan Z. So gotta make sure that I do a little guess and check there.
So Paney invents goals? Is this like a conspiracy or
false.
something?
No, it's number crunching. It's the macros. Come on. Anyways,
I love it when we bust out our tinfoil
rounding
fucking
error.
hats on. Yeah, I love it when we bust out the tinfoil hats on the MNL podcast.
Yeah,
Anyways.
I got 2.7 goals, not 2.65 against me.
oof.
Go ahead.
I'm 5-2 in the last go around, boys. That's 15 points. The only goalie that has a better record than that is good old Dylanski, and Dylanski was only L was against your boy right here. So one would say it's some Dylan Bane.
I like how you pulled out the player level stats because of the fact that you got traded halfway through. So we were able to kind of track to say like this is how Hetes has been doing.
Yeah. So
Are we gonna comment though? Since you brought up Dylan, are we gonna comment on like the throwing the net off and like?
I
ditching
didn't want
think
that
we
was
have
a
his
topic
gear on
that
that.
I wanted to jump on. I didn't know if we were done with the whole power ranking roundup. I did want to talk about the refereeing like last night and like the thoughts of kind of you touched on earlier, Percy, of the. I don't want to say it's disjointed or disjumbled, but it's just not consistent. The inconsistencies of being able to call some things and not other things. Great example: first period against the Ducks, I cover the puck. I had a pad in the crease, and I end up sliding out of the crease. They don't blow the whistle the first 5 seconds. I pick up my head and I'm like, okay, well, I can't have the puck behind the net. I go to play it. They blow the whistle after I've played the puck to tie. Sugar cries and goes, I just had the puck behind the net and he wasn't in the crease. You just
like Sugar.
You just watch me. No, he was crying. You just watch me
hit the puck. Oh God!
You just watch me play the puck, and the referee looked at me. He's like, "Yeah, you did that." I'm like, "I tried to play it. Like you saw me lift up my glove and play the tie. You just didn't give me another half second." And then in the game again with the Seals and Dylan,
5 seconds. I thought you said. I thought you just said like you covered it.
I had the puck in the crease. It was like 1,000, 2,000. I slid out, so I'm sitting outside the crease for like a second and a half, 2 seconds. Pick up my head, pass it to top. Point being,
dog, you were a hungry hippo. You jumped out and you gobbled that shit.
My point being is that they called delay game in there, but then in the Deeks and the Seals game, Dylan removes all of his clothes, full slap shot. His helmet's
all of them buck naked.
Just
dick swinging.
Just gloves, just helmet.
Just starts whipping the jockstrap around. Woo, yeah, for the fans in the stands. And apparently there wasn't a call. I know that some Deeks were just a little disgruntled, even though they didn't express it at the bar last night. So I just like a little bit more consistency on like what's calling when, and a little more communication with the refs. Like hey, play the puck if you're behind that, or like they're Dylan, are you good to go down there? Yes, I am. No, I'm not. Okay, well, stop the clock then. If you need like 10 minutes to do what you got to do, like.
I heard a rumor that you also went a little bit rough and had a nice cross-check penalty.
Deserved. See, I didn't get a cross-check.
2 minutes, worth it.
No. I thought I got a penalty, but then I was informed after the game it was actually Shepard that got a penalty for dumping somebody. But I guess I could have gotten a penalty for hitting Busta, but Busta should have got a 2-minute penalty for being in my crease in the first place, and Sugar should have got a 2-minute penalty for kicking my glove.
Look at these goalies. They're so sensitive. 2-minute penalty for being in my crease.
Yeah, well, I mean, you could be in my crease. You got to take the blocker. It's all right. It's no big deal.
Goalies, you can't touch them, but they can deck you in the head, call you a fuckface. It's all good.
I never touch anybody. That's why everyone gets so many little tipping goals on me all the time.
Talk about the time when Cone took a blocker to his face 3 times. He comes up, whacks at it, whistle blows, whacks at it some more. Cone comes up, 3 blockers to Piercy's face. 4 years later, you're not allowed to touch the goalies. They're the quarterbacks of MNL.
I wish we had more yellow flags for the goalies. Shit.
Speaking of Kona though, like he, he's like the goalie, but then like when he doesn't play goal, he is the worst guy to goalies, right? Like when he plays forward, he is just a savage to goalies.
He's gotten called for a crease violation twice in the last like 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah,
on Wednesdays or something like that. I'm
goalie
like, how are you getting called
crimes.
for this? Yeah.
Anyway, so next week's games, let's real quick. We have the North Stars versus the Nordiques, the Americans versus the Seals, the Ducks versus the Whalers, and the Tigers are on the byes. Obviously we kind of have that primetime matchup of the Americans versus the Golden Seals, but I'm going to say people are more interested in the other 2 games because those have more to do with that bottom of the barrel standings of where people are going to go up, who's going to miss the playoffs, who's going to make the playoffs.
I think trying to talk up the Seals Americans game, it's not that big. I think the Seals, I think Troy said they played like a B- game last night. I like to believe we played pretty decent against them and tried to have a decent game plan against them that just couldn't finish and execute on it. But they're hands down the best team in the league. We all know it. And I think like the Americans have 2 points in the last like 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks. They've been a little cold.
They have 5 points because they beat us the North Stars when we didn't show up and played, and then they beat the Whalers last night.
Yeah, I was trying to think because I think it was a loss to us.
Loss win.
They beat you guys. A loss again, and then so I mean they're doing well. They're not a bad team. They're a damn good team, and I think the shiny new thing is the Tigers, and people talk them up a lot, but. Like I feel it'll be a good game, but I think the Seals are a damn good, confident team. I think the last time we played the North Stars was a 2-1 game in overtime. We made a trade with each other. It's the oldest rivalry in MNL, according to Troy. Like that's going to be a fun game to watch. And I think just watching Pete and Gio and Judge and Darren buzz around the ice is going to be fun.
I was going to say, Judge, that's the main event right there.
Joe's on point. Hope someone gets killed. I think Judge went out and got like one of those like hunting like calendars like each single month and just circled the sketty. Made sure that the North Stars know he's coming. And I think Darren quietly in the back is sitting there like sharpening his knife, ready to put the foil on.
The rumor is Darren's been just whittling away at the end of that wood stick he uses. I heard he snapped all those composite ones after Troy traded his ass.
I heard that as well. Yeah, that was little insider in the Spittin' Chicklets, right?
Yeah, so agreed upon. Nobody cares about the Whalers, or nobody cares about the Americans or the Seals game. The other two are what we really care about. See if teams can get back in the playoff hunt, or if maybe the Ducks go further down in the Nordiques as well. So let's move on, kind of to call it the main event of the night.
Hey, before we go on to that, though, I know I'm pissing Piercy
No,
off.
I like
Piercy
this.
gets
I
really
like
mad. I can see him just fuming when we go off topic, But like, so we look at the first half, and the points got, and we look at the second half and the points have been gotten. How do we think that rule change with the subs has affected the points per team here?
I think that's a very good point there. I didn't even consider that. I think if you look at the Nordiques, they were the ones that seemed to have the biggest drop. I don't know what their actual subs were outside of Panty there, but
Well, I can give you my outright opinion. I think it's been a catastrophe for us because of the fact that I was out, and for the longest time we were able to pull in Troy, we were able to pull in you, and then it kind of limited us to say, like, all right, the only person who's kind of like plays defense in that range is Math. So that's when we started pulling in Math a whole bunch. We play at the same time as Math. We're starting to scramble a lot more. And then it became an issue once Joey got hurt as well. And so we have two people playing the exact same position, basically within the exact same spot in the draft, and we have to try and find two people in the space below us. So it definitely caused a lot of troubles for us, and we started having a lot. I think it heavily affected us.
Looks like it was a big hurt for the Deeks. We have the Americans went from 13 to 9. The Tigers went from 12 to 9. There was a lot of the talk on those times. Matt Taylor's missing a lot of games. The Americans, half their team isn't there. They're subbing up in all these positions. At the same time, we look at the other side where the North Stars went from 6 to 11 and the Whalers went from 7 to 10. So I think those are great points that, to me, I think it's more fair. I think, obviously it sucks when your guys aren't there, but at the same time, I don't think you should prosper from that. In something like hockey, if one of your guys go down, you're probably calling up someone from the minors to fill that spot. Yeah. And chances are there's a reason they're in the minors, unless it's like a high prospect that you're bringing up. But most of the time, you're probably losing a little bit bringing that guy up.
I don't disagree with that. I think my main point was, like, if we're playing against the Americans and the North Stars played at 9 o'clock, we'd pull in a Troy and Math for me and Brennan, which is a pretty equal draft-wise, and I would say probably in terms of skill-wise until Troy decided to become a god of his own.
Sniper.
Fucking sniper. But but it became a really noticeable problem as soon as we had the two people who are out there both in that same spot. So I don't think that anybody, and I agree with the decision to make the change, so that's why I didn't really make a stink about it, even though it was technically hurting my team, because it was the right thing to do.
How do you think it affected things, Joey?
I guess I just feel like maybe it was a little bit too harsh. Maybe we should just put a little haircut on the top end rather than kind of get rid of it altogether. Just give a little snip. You don't want a team to prosper for making a sub, but you also don't want to necessarily punish them. I mean, it's beer league. People miss games for whatever reason they feel like missing games for that week. We don't pay them. So, I just feel like you should maybe just, a little more leniency. But I don't know. We'll see next year if the rule gets shifted around a little bit. But I think it's affected teams that have had to sub a lot more. You know what I mean? It's the more subs you pull in, the worse your team kind of gets.
And I would actually consider, personally, I would like to see this rule stay into effect and see how it actually affects people's draft positions, because there are players, I think, that are known to miss more than others, and see if those people slide or not. And I think we've even talked about it with the North Stars trade. They got rid of Crunk. They brought in Ellis with part of that trade. Even if he's known to have a lot of work conflicts and stuff, they can still, it's a sub up from where Crunk was actually drafted, of where they could bring that in. So they can still take advantage of that. But I don't know how that would affect people's draft position if that rule is in place ahead of time.
I kind of wish we would have done it from the beginning. I don't think it would have affected anything that most teams would have done for the most part. But I think it's, just to kind of say, I think we need to keep it moving forward. I think it's the right thing to do. We have enough people and stuff like that to make that work. What I did want to touch on while I'm here in the seat, in the ears of all the fans, I think it's 100,000 you said were listening live. Brennan said, we don't pay these people. The big thing is that they pay us, and we need to make sure that people pay us so we can pay the rink so we can have ice. So One of the things that we're doing starting the third rotation, if you have not made payment 1, you are not eligible to skate. You are instantly suspended. If you have not paid payment 2 by the playoffs, you are not eligible to skate and you are instantly suspended. And a suspension is a true blown suspension, not you're out and you're able to sub for, someone nearby. It's you're going down 2 rounds. So that's a comment to everybody. Make sure you pay your league dues. Get that in. We're starting to be a little bit more strict just because of particular GMs of the Whalers in years past who have just been like deuces after not paying us $400. So we're trying to be a little bit more adamant and make sure that we don't get that late and, get people's attention earlier on. So if you have not paid, you're not eligible to skate starting today.
Yeah, that seems fair to me. And at the same time, you are realistically paying per week to play hockey. So if you're not showing up, we're not paying you, but you're essentially paying money to play hockey that you're missing out on. We all know things come up, people get hurt, commitments, things like that. But, it's always nice to do your best to try to show up as well.
Yeah, we're going to repo your car if you don't pay, so.
I mean, we've all seen not all of us, but most of us have seen The Irishman on Netflix by now, right? So, I mean,
No spoilers. I have
Nope.
Okay. Anyways, point being, it's a good old-fashioned mafia movie. You can go find the body somewhere, right? So, better watch out for Godfather Panny here. He'll find you. Yes,
I'll send my Italian goons at you.
Yeah.
Me and Gio are still tight. You may trade him, but he still comes up, has a panty melt every single day at the bowling alley. So I'll sick him on you.
So coming up on December
Grandma Gio.
Coming up on December 23rd, we actually have our All-Star and Bender Bowl coming up. So we recently had a vote to vote in All-Stars for the All-Star game. And Mr. Jeremy Drager, the reason he's here today is to announce those All-Stars. So are you ready for those?
Yeah, I am. So to kind of give some people who are outside of our group who might not have been in the know, but we have an all-star game. We do it every single year, and the all-stars are voted on by the players of the MNLPA. So that means if you're a player, you get a vote. We had, I think, 60 votes this year, which is pretty good, considering, we generally have a lot of people who drag their feet. Somebody who was sitting in this seat last week is a good example of like, I can vote. Yeah, but Andy, you can vote. So sometimes we have some people who drag their feet and don't do it, but we had a really, really good response this year. We gave a little bit of a hey, here's the standings for like the top vote getters so far a couple weeks ago. But now we're here to kind of announce it. So as a reminder, everybody, All-Star Game is on the 23rd. Do you want to kind of, before we jump into the actual names, talk about how we're going to set up the All-Star teams?
So I think there was talk. I don't know how we're going to do the captains, but I think one of the requirements is you're available for next week to come in on the podcast to draft teams.
Live draft on the podcast.
Live draft, boys.
Live draft.
I do have the ability on there to share my screen, and I could actually probably post the players going on each team as we went about as well to make stuff a little bit more interesting for Twitch and the YouTube video that would go on later. But I think that's the big thing is we're looking to have the draft live next week, and then obviously I don't know how the Bender Bowl will be decided. There could be a chance that not enough players are available. Of course, with 7 teams now and there, I assume we actually have the ability to have 2 games at that 10 o'clock slot if need be.
Yeah, that's the plan. For the most part, my expectation is that we're going to have the All-Star game. We're going to explicitly call those people out. This is more of like an honor for them. Hey, you were voted to the All-Star game. You're an All-Star this season, etc. And then after that, we'll try to draft up teams. There's going to be people who are going to be like, yeah, I'm not fucking playing your reindeer games, or I'm busy, I have family stuff going on, so they're not going to come and attend. And regardless of that happening, we'll pull in subs as appropriate to try and fill in the spots to make those games happen. But if we still have really good attendance, we'll probably day of take the people who say, hey, I'm a Bender, I'm like a non-all-star, I'm going to be in. And we say if we have closer to 40 people than we do 20, we'll chop it in half and we'll have 2 games run during that time. So it'll be the we used to call it the All-Stars of Tomorrow game for the Bender Bowl. It's like the official name. It's now officially going to be like the All-Stars of Tomorrow, like those mid-level players. And then we're going to have like a Bender Bowl where the best player on that ice is like Scott goddamn Wilkie. And it's going to be Bender overtime all the time. It's going to be the greatest.
I tell you what, there's people who really enjoy the Bender Bowl. I think it was Vanandi who was just like, I love the Bender Bowl, man. feels like I'm a great player out there. I got space. I can move. The speed's slower. He's like, it's so much fun out there. Like, so
I went top corn on Skillman in like the 6th or 7th round of the shootout. I got the tap on the shoulder from Hardy that says, "You go. See how it goes." I'm like, all right. I skate out there. Is that my car?
I have no idea whose car that is. It keeps going off.
I go out and I score top corn on Skillman. It was like the greatest thing I've ever done. It was like a big day for me. So
back to the All-Star announcement.
back to the All-Star. So these are a list. We have 14 forwards. We have 10 defensemen. And we have 2 goalies. This is basically 2 teams with like a little bit of extra buffer on both sides. I'll list out alphabetical order, every single player by position. And then we'll also drop the first team All-Stars. So the 3 forwards, 2 defensemen, and a goalie that are the top vote getters for their positions.
Can we make any like pre-predictions right now? Can I make? I'm gonna make a hot take. Here's a hot take.
Roll it.
September Heisman Dave P is gonna be an All-Star. You heard that here first.
Wow, the guy who did the best at the start of the season is going to be an all-star. He's going to get votes.
Well, all he did was play really good in September and then score on me, which doesn't mean much. So
I'll do a prediction that Trent Young makes the All-Star game as a defenseman, even though he didn't
Yeah.
play defense all year long.
I don't know if that's a
brought up.
hot take. That's just kind of
That's just me pointing that out and you going, "Oh yeah," on Slack. Troy, although he's having an All-Star caliber season, will not make the All-Star team.
Ooh, that'd be a snub.
That would be a snub. I agree.
I didn't vote for him though. I'm not gonna lie.
So let's get down to the actual
Let's get on the
results.
brass tacks.
All right. So, for our all-star forwards for the 2019-2020 season of MNL, we have representing from the Americans, number 00, Paul Antioch.
Oh, our YouTube thumbnail cover.
I know. That's why it worked out.
Are you putting team counts down as we go here, Piercy, or what? Come on, get on a podcast, guy.
Yeah. From the Mighty Ducks, number 63, Paul Bin Bellitti.
Oh, having an All-Star caliber season, Ben is. I mean, even though the Ducks aren't doing well, he's putting up numbers this year.
He's still doing good. From the Whalers, number 18, Dave Lil Boner Podolin.
Oh, Dave P.
Ooh, that was loud.
That was loud in my ears. And like, I just want to put it out there. Dave Podolin was not the last one in. There was a couple people behind him on this list who had less votes. Going back to it, from the Quebec Nordiques, number 25, Andy Feminino. From the now from the North Stars, formerly number 71, Giorgio Orlandi.
Ooh, wow, that's really kind of surprising. I mean, he only got his first couple points last game. He got 2 goals last game, double his point output.
Hey, sometimes being a fan favorite gets you that vote. Look at Yao Ming in the past.
It's like Dustin Brown in the off seasons, right? Like, in some seasons he scores 0 goals, and he has a resurgence and comes back and scores a bunch.
I mean, like, most of the votes, obviously, because of the fact that the trade happened basically like a week ago, 2 weeks ago. Most of the votes came before those goals back when he was on a Nordique. So maybe it was his other play. Maybe it was his play outside of points, or maybe it was fan favorite.
Fan favorite, baby.
He's a stallion, man. He just,
I'm trying to vote for Grandma Gio, but the closest thing is regular Gio.
You're right. Where's John Scott?
You drop your fucking phone one more goddamn time.
Are you mad?
I'm gonna throw
It's
it in the
my
goddamn
phone.
toilet. It's
You
ruining.
can't even bend
It's
over.
ruining the
Say the
fidelity
next
of the
person.
podcast.
the flow.
Next person.
The flow
All
is just
right.
off now.
From the Mighty Ducks, number 42, Sean Hardy. From Los Tigres, number 88, Matt Jaromir Taylor.
I did not vote for him.
Oh, you're wrong.
That's a real hard
Why?
snub.
He didn't show up for enough games.
Oh,
he
look at
has.
this.
He
Like the-
alluded.
like the hall monitor over here.
He alluded to that on the podcast a couple weeks ago. He was like, sometimes if you don't show up, you're not going to get my vote. And I was just like, is he talking about Darren? And I realized shortly afterwards when I was tallying all the votes, he was talking about Matt Taylor.
I mean, as long as you show up for the playoffs, I don't care if you show up during the season at all. That's what counts, baby.
So rolling back to it, from the North Stars, number 10, Pete Neferatis.
Ooh, 3 former Deeks. Well, 2 former Deeks and a Deek already.
A Greek freak here, huh?
I think they would be rolling in those points.
Yeah, you'd think so.
From the Golden Seals, number 22, Feaster. That was an easy one, though.
Why'd you whisper that?
That was
know.
creepy.
Just because I actually
felt
said
I felt like a careless whisper kind of coming
Yeah,
on.
like
You know?
the saxophone.
Yeah, just the saxophone. Just
back-to-back 22s.
Especially
Going
with
right
that
to it
mustache.
from the Americans, 22, Paul Proctor.
Oh wow, Owen Wilson.
From the Whalers, number 10, Jack Serta.
Captain Jackson.
Captain Jack Serta.
That's okay. That's puzzling to me. Again, another player that's maybe a fan favorite got voted in because I mean, Mr. Serta has
shitload of votes. You want his actual number? He got 33 votes.
30. He got
Lot of
33 votes.
I got some fun facts about All-Star numbers to show you and tell you guys about later that are really, really disturbing. To show you
analytics.
how lopsided voting was this season.
All right.
Back to it. From the Golden Seals, number 51, Sean, Area 51, Eisenmenger.
Another fan favorite. But
Another fan
also
favorite.
high scorer.
Also high
I think he's
scorer.
leading the league in assists right now.
Yeah, it's because he's playing with that guy who we talked about earlier. Formerly from the North Stars, pour one out for one's homies. Number 9, Bill, he suits, he scores. Suits. I don't think he's going to be able to play, but we have to make sure that he gets the honor and knows that he is showing up, and, we'll find out who first alternate is soon.
He's still in top 20 points in the league too. He's number
I know.
18. He's number 18.
He did fucking great.
I'm going to retract my prior statement about Serta. He apparently has 9 points, 4 goals in the season, but a couple of those might be empty netters.
2 or 3. And then rounding out the forwards, the surprise of the night, for considering what we said earlier, number 93 from the Whalers, Trent Young, got voted in finally as a forward, not as a defenseman. He was 100% winning as a defenseman, and then people started voting him as a forward, as we kind of pointed out that people are voting for him as a defenseman. He hasn't played defense all season.
I
And just
literally said that.
swung it the other direction.
I believe he's also leading the league in PIMs right now.
That sounds like Trent.
Do we have a salt watch here going on for Peso or what? I feel like on a normal year, Peso would have made this list easily, but
Maybe he got voted into defense.
Peso playing defense.
Sorry. I didn't want to take us off topic. So going back to it, back to defense. We start off with a really good, very well-deserved surprise. For defense, voted in, I believe his number is 61 for the Golden Seals, Alan Zamorowski.
oh, yeah, he's been solid back there, man.
He's been
surprise of the year back. Well, I guess not a surprise. He's a great skater.
He's a great skater, and I think he's played on defense in the past, but I think he just has, right now, I think he's just got the perfect partner. Everything's gelling. Him and Leroy look fucking phenomenal back there together.
Oh,
it's worked out, and plus, it's credit to for drafting a team.
Quick second, Troy's going off in the chat as of right now with chip on the shoulder, top 8 in scoring, 7th round pick. I was robbed. You know
who
7th
also
round forced pick. I mean, let's not.
Yeah. I mean, I'm pretty sure some people try to say he was a 6th rounder, and he
or a 9th round shithead.
a 9th round shithead. Also, I want to also point out that Slocum was not on that list.
Which is insane.
A very well-deserved Slocum was not on that list.
Which is insane.
So let's.
Maybe just got the new guy bias or something, because he's been on fire.
Everyone says, "Oh, Slocum's the next hottest commodity in the league," and then no one votes for him.
Slocum was.
He's also been hot the last 2 or 3 weeks. Maybe some votes were in before that.
That's true. He was our first forward out. Slocum is followed by Troy. So going back to it, representing the Mighty Ducks, number 5, Tim Bronscheitel. A very quiet but strong season from him. Number 14 from Los Tigres, Chris Taylor. So both Taylor brothers made it.
Hard to go wrong with that.
Yep. From the Americans, number 5, our Bender overtime goal scorer last night, Brian Edge. And then these ones, I love to do them together.
The Lapoudre brothers.
Yeah,
The
baby.
Lapoudre brothers, back-to-back. So 24 from the Whalers, Eric Lapoudre, 96.
Now, is it a requirement that they're on the same line?
Oh yeah,
On the
I-
same
I-
All-Star
it
team?
has to be.
Since we're drafting Snake and you get those picks together, if you don't have an opportunity to get both of them, you fucked up.
Yeah.
Imagine those two together.
You might have to go 2-3. overall.
Yeah, you might have to. You have Eric, who wears 24, and then Matt, 96 from the Tigers. Matt Lapoudre also got in, wears 96. 24 times 4 is 96. That's some brotherly connections. I don't know what it means or if it was intentional, but it's there.
Definitely,
Yeah,
definitely
you're digging
some
deep.
Illuminati stuff.
You are
going
just
on
Coming from the
there.
fucking guy earlier, is like,
You're really
so
deep.
if you look at where the North Stars are and do like 20% down, 15% Visa, what the Nordiques are doing right now.
I was giving the percentages of the goals, like the goals for and against.
So,
Wasn't that deep?
according to Troy, he's also a top 5 defenseman in the league.
Are you kidding
He
me?
got 3 votes as a defenseman, so nice fucking try. Back to it. Now officially on the Nordiques, number 22, David Judge. Representing the Golden Seals, number 6, Jason McShannock.
Carrying whoop all year. You can't say anything bad about that.
That's an like a Herculean effort.
That's a
We
heavy
give him
load.
credit. Yeah, that's like Sisyphus pushing the rock up the hill and watching it roll back down, but he keeps on trying. And I give him a lot of credit. Representing
Picture rolling whoop up the hill. It's on hockey gear.
Just yelling and smoking the whole time.
God, that blew out the microphone. I'm sorry. Let's get this done. The Americans, number 27, John Starr. And then rounding out our defensemen, number 56, I want to say his number is, for the Mighty Ducks, is James, don't call him Tex Rubel. And then for the goalies, these are 2 pretty quick ones. Representing the Golden Seals is Dylan Lesnar, and representing the Whalers is Cam Clauser.
Good list of guys.
Good
Ooh,
list of guys.
That'd be the first time that I think J-Flo hasn't made an All-Star game. Eh?
So I'm not gonna lie, J-Flo had an early run. It was like Dylan, J-Flo, and then like a combination of like fucking 5 other goalies that were duking it out. Hetes was up there, Cam was up there, and then slowly but surely it started to crawl back up a bit. And so we have a really good. I mean, no one's going to disagree with this. We have a really good stretch of goalies this year. It's a really, really tight pack. So I think it was pretty confident Dylan, and then whoever just kind of got maybe the fan favorite vote or something like that, or just hot at the right time.
Every goalie in the league has a below a 3 for a GAA this year. So
Yeah.
It's
Which is
definitely a
huge.
really good point. Yeah, I mean, this is the first year we've had really good goalies, like just across the board for the whole league. You know, where there's not like one where you're just like, okay, that's a big weak spot. You know,
Yeah.
So any idea how captains are going to work for next week?
So my recommendation is we have, what is this? 36-ish guys, I want to say it is.
2 goals.
26?
Yeah, and plus 2 goalies, right?
Yeah. So we have like about 26-ish guys who basically are going to be playing or going to be, considered our all-stars. We need to grab 2 who are willing to come in, and that's basically the premise. I don't want Sugar and Proctor. We did that last year. That was fun to kind of split them up and have them do their thing. As much as I hate it, maybe it's try and get the Lapoudre brothers in, get Eric in, Matt in. Oh. But like that's basically my opinion. It could be a Cam Dillon type of thing. I wouldn't be against,
No, we've seen the cam show for drafting teams before. We do not want that again.
I mean, it's a little bit of a redemption arc.
He knows the league now. I mean, I think we just gave him the reins a little bit early that first time around.
Man, did he want him to?
Drafted the team, played 1 game for him.
Yeah.
Either way, I say Drager, reach out to the Lapoudre brothers, see if they're willing. Anybody else, reach out to Drager to say you're interested in doing it if you're available.
I got an alternate proposal. What if you do? So you give the Lapoudre brothers the first pick overall in the draft, right? But then what you do is you do a Lapoudre brothers versus Taylor brothers battle. 2 GMs. Bring all 4 of them in here. Have them draft.
we
You
have to-
would need draft slot positions for
Yeah,
that.
because like the difference between the Taylors and the Lapoudres, God bless all their souls, but like Matt Taylor has a little bit of a tilt in that.
yeah,
scenario,
so
we'd have to.
give the Lapoudres the first 2 draft picks and then snake it after that.
All right, we'll figure it out.
Or Maki brothers, bring them in, have them draft the
So
All-Star team.
we did do
I
that
like
last year.
that.
I think it was Todd and Troy drafted the All Stars. It might be a challenge to try and get Charles to come in. I know he's expressed difficulty trying to make Tuesdays work. And I know Sam is busy. I think he's Billy Baloney's official assistant. And Billy Baloney works him really hard on Tuesday nights. So I don't know if he'll necessarily be available.
Sam has made an appearance, though, to be fair.
I know. I'm just saying, let's...
What's the opportunity of having Chad Polinsky draft the team?
I mean, we'd have to find out some other schlub who's outside of the league who wants to draft against him to kind of keep it even. I want the fucking narrative in this. I want it to be like Lapudre versus Lapudre, or set of brothers versus set of brothers, or something like I want
brothers
that.
Set of brothers is pretty cool.
So we'll figure something out. If you have a suggestion, throw it in Slack. Send it to me. Send it to Piercy. Throw it out there. We'll start the conversation and kind of have something cool going on. We probably have some cool conversations going on in Slack right now. I did want to, before we broke away from the actual All-Star talk, and I can put my phone down, the first team All-Stars. So this is the team that when the time comes and MNL has to ice their best lineup, this is who
versus
they
the aliens to save the world.
Versus the aliens to save the world. When the Monstars come down, this is who you voted in as the best team, which is left wing, Paul Xavier Proctor, Chris Feaster at center, Trent Young at right, John Starr left D. Why are you...
He's roster baiting right
Go.
now.
Hell, easy, Junior. I don't like that.
No, I'm not. Go.
We got David Judge at right D and Dylan Lesnar backstopping. Go.
What in the drunken fuck? All right, fair enough. I mean, hey, if that's your all-star team, that's your all-star team. Like, your first ballot all-stars. You got to do what you got to do, baby. But I'm
just saying, this is based solely off of the votes that the people gave. Your
can
top
Can I take
getter.
Can I take the second ballot all-star team and play the first ballot all-star team?
I mean, maybe if you're the person who drafts the teams next week, we'll talk.
Ooh.
So this is based solely off of points. These are the guys who got the most points. Our top point getter was Paul Proctor, narrowly beating out Feaster. Very close. I just want to point out one thing. Of that group, there are 3 22s on that roster. Mm-hmm. We got one at left, one at center, and one at D. So
I was thinking of changing my number to that next year. I think it'll help my career.
3 out of 4 chance.
I'm gonna change my goalie number 22.
So did you say
I'm gonna get Carson to change his number to 22? Fucking book it. Watch. I know he's watching.
Any other interesting stats you have from the voting?
So one of the things I did want to point out, it was from our All-Star getters, the people who are going to be in the All-Star game. I think the total number of votes aggregated together that they all got was 747 votes, which is quite a lot of numbers. So that's basically their point totals all aggregated together. That's how many votes went into that game. If you went to the point total for the Bender Bowl, players who are going to be eligible for that bottom third Bender Bowl, it's 6.
Nice. So here's my question to you, Penny.
Mind you, my name is in there, and I think somebody voted for me. I'm pretty sure it was Chad. They voted me under the name of the general, and I deleted that. But for the most part, it's literally just 6 points. That's it.
So wait, how are you eligible for the Bender Bowl then?
I'm technically not.
I didn't mean you. I meant in general.
league.
How is someone eligible
So
for the Bender Bowl?
we'll take these All-Stars. They're going to go get drafted into teams. As people can't make it, we'll pull in subs as necessary from the people who were not necessarily voted in for first replacements. And then we will take a roll call on the 23rd to see who is going to play. Just chop it in half. Top half, bottom half. You know, when you got when you have that Charles Mackey, Sam Mackey face-off to start the game again, and it's like you could actually look at the coach and be like, I see the strategy you're trying to do here, and I agree with it. That'll be what our Bender Bowl is.
I don't know if I ever see a strategy of either of those guys at center.
Here's my question to you, Panny. Can some of those goalies that may not be playing in that All-Star game, can we get on that Bender Bowl action if we're indeed benders?
So that is a really good possibility. We have a handful of people in the league. Charles is an example. Chad won't be. Chad's not officially in the league, but he is a Bender goalie by definition. Skillman, who just got fresh off of a K-Felk shutout last week, but still, I'd calibrate him as a Bender Bowl defenseman, considering my top corn shootout goal I talked about earlier from last year's Bender Bowl. We have a handful of guys who kind of fit into that role, and so that might be an opportunity to say, let's throw those guys in net. Let's pull out some goalies who might want to skate out and have them kind of do that. So maybe that's a U, that's a Cone. J-Flow in that mid-tier game, he can't play against the Benders. That's just not fair.
Me-
But stuff like that.
Me and
I don't even know
Cone.
if I let Cone play in front of the
Me
Benders
and
anymore.
Cone
That
Bender's
might be pushing it. I don't disagree.
He's quite the skater now.
Can't wait for that Bender Bowl.
Me and Cone Bender line playing forward. Let's go, boys.
So I think that there we have it. I'm assuming later tonight or tomorrow you'll actually post this information in Slack as well.
Yeah, I'll post 2 announcements just so everyone could see it. I mean, if you're not watching right now, you kind of miss out. That's on you. But I guess I'll give it to the people who decided to wait till the next day.
Yeah. So anybody else have anything they want to discuss tonight?
So we kind of mentioned it. I think, were there any surprises that we had in terms of hits or misses? So I think we kind of mentioned Troy, we mentioned Slocum, and we mentioned Peso. Anything else kind of come to mind?
I don't necessarily know if Peso was as much of a miss. I mean, you're drafted. It's
I'm
like
just saying he was brought up.
I mean, he's brought in to be Brett Hall, and he's got 8 assists this year, no goals. So I mean, Serta I think was kind of a little generous of a pick. I know that he does have 9 points, but like I think you brought up, he's got like 3 or 2 empty net goals, and for a guy of his caliber, you're expecting him to be at like a point per game pace, but also like 2/3 of those points are goals, right? So you don't pay him the Monday Night Light money to get assists per se.
I think it's hard to say without actually looking at rosters and who made it, who didn't make it. I think similar thoughts. Feels like there's a few players who might have made it based on their reputation throughout their career in the league, where there could be some new guys that people aren't thinking about quite as much on that side of things. But without actually sitting down, looking at it player for player, it's really hard for me to say this guy, yes, this guy, no type of thing.
Yeah, I mean, another Peso is usually a notable player. Usually you see him on these all-star teams. I mean, I'll get he's been snake bit for goals this year, so I see why he doesn't get the votes. Dougie Fresh is another one that came up on defense for me, fellow Canadian, so I got to put the plug in for him. But he's usually on these all-star teams for a defenseman. He's pretty solid back there. Surprised not to see him there.
He was for the people who weren't really aware, the ballot system's not perfect, but I basically I double check to make sure everyone sends in a valid ballot. If they don't, I'll reach out to them, and usually it's always they have 12 forwards and 12 defensemen or something like that, or 8 forwards and 12 defensemen. So I kind of go back and I tell them like, hey, can you fix your ballot, make these changes, and probably like Dougie Fresh was the most person. I was like, hey, you have like 10 defensemen. Here are all of them. Like, take 2 out. Dougie Fresh is the most popular poll. So he was like a bubble player for like everyone across the board. You're like, man, you're there, but you're just not comparable to the Rubel or the Brawny or whatever you want to say. So it kind of sucks to kind of be like, to kind of know that, hey, I was kind of close and I didn't make it, but it's kind of also a little bit of credit that it was just kind of right on that cusp.
I also found it to be interesting. It seemed like we were naming off, like, there was a lot of Ducks named off, a lot of Nordiques named off, or the ones that were just recently traded. It's like, if these guys have so many all-stars, how are these teams not performing? So that's another thing that makes me just question in general. And I know it's, one player, or a team's a team, not just one player type of thing, but it's kind of like, how does that stack up in that equation?
I'd challenge you to crunch the numbers and take a look at the actual representation of the teams, because it's pretty even across the entire league. It's a lot of like, wow, the first 4 players from every single team got pulled in. How am I not surprised?
And realistically,
With, like,
there's
some
a reason they
exceptions.
got drafted early,
But-
because they're probably the best players.
Yeah.
So it's pretty reasonable to think that they're probably an all-star as well.
Yeah, but to my point, that just saying like it's probably coming down for like the Deeks and the Ducks having issues is more game plan in some cases, or chemistry. Like, hey, the right team wasn't really pulled together in those scenarios. So I don't think it's necessarily like, oh, I'm surprised that, hey, because I think the Ducks have more than a couple other teams that probably are a little bit more deserving if you look at the standings in that way. So it's worth kind of looking into, but I think it's not as bad as you think.
Yeah, it's possible. It's like I said, it's so hard when you're just reading a list of, kind of actually say this team, this team, this team, this team. I think there was just some runs where it was like, oh, a Duck, a Nordique. There was the ones where it just felt like, oh, there's a giant list of those people. So who knows? I don't think there's anybody that you're just like, oh my God, how did that guy make it? So I think everybody's well deserving. It's always a fun thing, nice thing to have in the league. But Mr. Joey Brennan, I'd like to thank you for coming in today. I hope you had a good time.
Yeah, hope I did all right.
done.
I mean, it was a good time, so thank you for having me.
And then, Hetes here, a certain percentage of the time, 50, 60, 70%, who knows, like to have you back. You're a little bit better of mindset this time.
Yeah, I think if I hosted when I was a little bit, more sober, I think we would have gotten through that Tendy talk a lot easier. But word to the wise: don't bring Pink Whitney around Mr. Pink Whitney himself. So,
and then Mr. Drager as well for coming in to help announce the All-Stars. Thank you very much.
Pro tip: don't bring liquor to the well. It's a dangerous, dangerous game.
It definitely is, and as always, give us a call. Voicemail at 714-75-WHOOP. Email the show, podcast@mnlhl.com. If you're interested in actually being a captain for the All-Star game, let Drager know. Let me know. We'll work on doing that. Hopefully next week we have the draft. But for everybody else, I think we are over.
Let me and Koner be Bender captains.